Okay. Hi, sir. Lakukan lang, sir. Hello? Okay.
Right. Good morning. Sorry for the delays. Delays occurred due to the file failure. Right. Anyway, we'll start the session. Last few days we discussed the value-added taxation of Sri Lanka and also relevant legal provisions of the Value-added Tax Act. And also in that, when we learned the value-added tax, we learn the relevant historic provision. But again and again, I am highlighting that law always time being changed. Each and every Minister of Finance, when they present the budget, they make introduce a lot of changes. Therefore, we should. Therefore, there are no any certainty of the taxation. Always is subject to changes. But anyway, when and therefore we must learn the concept of the taxation. In taxation, even income tax or even value-added tax, even all other tax, there are some threshold involved. Threshold can be changed. Now we know that the threshold is that it is time to time change, right? In taxation, the income tax is for payment of taxes. When once the department in income tax established taxes over 4,000 rupees. Now today it has become the 500,000 for employment. In case of employment, it has go to the 600,000, and again now some exemptions were introduced. Now they are claiming 1 point up to 2 million, like that. Now we know the for a threshold involves, and same way the periods are, taxes are charged on periodical basis. For income taxation, annual tax is charged annual income. But in case of value-added taxation, the taxable period of or the quarter basis, like in some other taxation, biannually, like that we must change. We conceptually must learn. Likewise, now very recent budget, government changed into some changes for the value-added tax also. But now we know the concept now, and also the scope can be widened. Very recent, likewise, there may be a lot of changes. Some there or any tax legislation, there are some exemptions. Even income taxation, there are some exemptions. Same way, some value-added taxation, so there will be some exemption and so some exclusion. But government time to time can be exemption can be increased, widen, or it can be lower. The recent budget, the government had wanted to raise more revenue through the value-added taxation, and therefore government changed the value-added tax law. Right? Right? Very recent amendments, the government changes lot of value-added tax provisions of the Act. Right? Some changes were effected from the 1st 11/2016. Likewise, once the ministry is proposed some date, on that date the validations come. Likewise, we must learn that type of concept. The minister can change the tax laws and effective date can be decided. On that basis, tax to be collected. Right? Right. Right. See, the value-added tax, see the period, the changes, once the government has, earlier we had the rate of 12%. When the initial stage good and service tax was introduced, there are two type of rates, 20 and the 10. Now again it has made changes, and before 2 years ago the rate was 12. It was reduced to 11%. Again, there are controversial thing. Prime Minister of our country, he also proposed to increase the 15%. But it has been challenged in the Supreme Court. But again, though this was challenged Supreme Court, the law was amended to retroactive effects. But the law was amended on that way. The rate of 15 is again there. There are some transitional period between court decision and the announcement and the Prime Minister and the decision of the court. On that period, again, it has been reduced to 11. That is very controversial thing. Mr. Bimal Veeramas, one MP, challenged for the validity of the increase of 15%. During that transitional period, again reduced to 11%. But again, the the Prime Minister's proposal was gave effect amending for again rate 15. Now effective rate is 15. Now we must learn here the rate can be always subject to changes. The minister decide considering the price, considering the revenue impact or the other factors, like if they want give more concession for the consumers, they can reduce the rate. Once the reduce this rate, he had to forego the income. If we need if the government need to raise more revenue through the value added taxation, they increase the rates and again widen the scope of the value added taxation. Exemption can be removed. Likewise, see now that we see how latest by amendments made some changes to that type of conceptuals. Threshold of VAT registration. See, the threshold of VAT registration earlier was, now we see we learn the word of threshold. Now there was some period threshold only for 10 million per annum, then quarter for 250,000. It was increased 15 million. The 15 million then quarters turnover the tax 3 months for 3,705,000. But it has been changed to the 3 million per quarter and the annum 12 million. Now the recent budget threshold was reduced. They assume the next year government want to exempt for a lot of small and medium term taxpayers. They can increase the threshold for 20 million, 50 million. That type of things happening. Now with the latest budget, threshold was reduced to 3 million per quarter from 3.7 million, 7.5 million per quarter. That means the annual total 15 million reduced to 12 million. Right. Then I say the scope issue. Once the value added tax or the GST Act was introduced, tax was charged supply of goods and services and also imports of goods. But in that always the retail, wholesale and retail trade was exempted. Not the exempted, that was not within the scope of the value added taxation. Right? But government had wanted to introduce the value added taxes for the wholesale and retail trade. For that purpose, government had wanted to introduce the government had wanted to scope the value added taxation. That means they had need to raise more revenue, and also they had wanted to cover all the transactions under the country under the value added tax system. On that sense, the government extend the scope to the wholesale and retail trade. Right? Once the initial stage, the wholesale and retail trade was become liable. The threshold was 2 million per annum. That means 500,000 per quarter per 500 million per quarter. That's the per instruction of the once the wholesale and retail trade make liable for value added taxation. The threshold was 2 million per annum. Then government had wanted to extend the scope of the value added taxation of the wholesale and retail, and they need to increase the scope and also need to get more people in to the tax net through the wholesale and retail. Then government change it, then reduce to 1 billion per annum, and that means 250 million per quarter. Again in 2015, government had wanted to widen the tax net of the wholesale and retail trade, then again reduce it to 400 million from the 1000 million, that means 100 million per quarter. Then the special things was happened, the controversial things happened. The Minister of Finance, not the Minister of Finance, normally again I want to highlight the Minister of Finance, the subject means for the taxation, he will make the necessary changes to the budget. But in some unknown circumstances, Prime Minister of this country made some tax proposal to the Parliament after introduced some budget proposal by the Minister of Finance. In budget speech, in that was the Prime Minister proposed to proposed to threshold reduced to 12 million for the wholesale and retail sale also. Then he had to want to threshold to equal for the all the sectors, including import of goods, good and service of good and surplus, and the wholesale and retail trade. Then lot of people of this country agitated and they made noise against that type of interaction. All the people in this country, not all, lot of segment of this country, people come to the street and made agitation saying that if the value add tax was introduced by the hotel and retail traders, the traders whose turnover below exceed 12 million, then all the events, even Game Kadi, that is a small boutique also have to pay value added tax, and once the value added tax is introduced, the price level will be, price level of goods and services will be increased. Then lot of agitation comes and the lot of discussions were there. There is a lot of trade unions and the trade chambers to obey the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister and also the President even. I also had a discussion with the President with the introduction of the value added tax for the wholesale and retail trades. The lot of deliberations were there, and later the Minister of Finance agreed to change the threshold not to 12 million, increases to 50 million per annum. Now all the hotel and retail traders registration threshold is 50 million per annum. That means 12.5 million per quarter. Now we see that the conceptually we learn the threshold. Threshold per wholesale and retail trade start from the 2 billion, that means 2000 million, they reduce to 1000 million, that means 1 billion, again reduce to 400 million. Then now the settled amount is, the currently implemented threshold is country for the registration wholesale and trade is 50 million per annum. Now we know, and therefore we should not worry about the amount of threshold. We must conceptually we must learn there must be threshold. Then as a master student we have the good opportunity, with the effect of the reduce of the value add tax of the wholesale and retail trade, effect of the tax revenue through the latest changes of the threshold. Anyone can make a research whether there is a big impact of the changes of the threshold of the wholesale and retail trade, and also one can check whether the government collected the expected revenue through that introduction, that some area for the research of the threshold changes. Once any threshold changes, that is affected to the price level of the country and also the revenue of the country. Then the tax, if say the master students say the value add tax rate is increased and the scope is increased, the assumption is government revenue is increased. Then one can make a research when the price rate is increased on some date, and he can analyze the impact of the revenue change through the rate changes on the scope changes and all of the even the removal exception. One can you can research the impact of the changes, and that time then again I want to highlight here is that once we learn the threshold like that way conceptually, we must learn that type of concepts we can apply for the research area. Even threshold we can even on the threshold level one can analyze the impact whether tax rate has been increased or the decreased, whether taxes through the increase of the threshold reduction, whether taxpayer amount number of taxes has been increased, and also the to par with the increase of the number of taxpayers, whether revenue has been increased to line with the number of taxpayers increase. Likewise, these are some research area for the value added taxation. Thousands of research have been done on that subject, especially in the rate changes, value added tax rate changes, that is affected to price level of the country. Then when we are going to make a research, then we have, then the if someone, then once the price level is changed, on what, from where we should get that type of information. For that level, the Colombo Consumer Index, you can find the price levels and all, and that way you can, you can access for the data and all the revenue data you can collect from the tax department or the central bank reports and all, or like that. These are the areas for the papers and all. And also the value add taxation, we learned the output inputs mechanism. Then when the wholesale and retail trade was recently introduced, the persons who come for a new registration, they are not in the position to claim the inputs for the when they make the taxable supply. Why? They have not obtained the tax invoices. As I taught you, in value add taxation, all the person who has registered for the value add taxation, they must, when they purchase goods, they must obtain the tax invoices. The tax invoices carry the value of supply of goods, so the tax amount is separately. Now, since the new registration for the value add taxes value add tax on the wholesale rate, since they are in the absence of the invoices, they are given some deemed input credit. You have learned that concept also. Then they are not. Then since they were allowed to claim deemed input, price level can be reduced. But as the conceptually we learned that in value add taxation, we only tax the value addition. Now here, in order to guarantee the value taxation of value addition of the wholesale and trade, the government decided to give the deemed input tax for the new registration, registered tax based on the value add tax on wholesale and retail trade. Then we have explained how, since where the value tax invoices absent, how to subtract the value add tax portion. When the rate is the 11, then value add tax portion to identify, apply this 11 rate of 11 divided by the 111. That means the total amount is 111, but 111 include the taxes 11%. On that formula, you can in this formula you can learn how to compute the value add tax part and the value of taxable supplies. Right? This is formula to compute the deemed input tax. When the rate is increased to 15%, then the 50 total. Say we take some example. Say value of invoice, say the 100 115,000. In that is in the invoice salary 150 is in, but it has invoice does not state the VAT value. In this formula, once the rate is 15%, 115,000 say that we take on that basis 115 divided by the now 115,000, then we divide by the not on that way, say, right, divided by 15 into 115,000, then you can get the value add tax portion of this value. Then you can get the answer of 100,000. Then value of supply is 100,000, VAT portion is 15,000. On that basis, deemed tax be computed. Right? only for that is only for computation method. We must learn not to this type of computation. These we must learn how to identify the VAT fraction of the amount. If the value is 115 VAT, then now we assume that VAT fraction is included. The fraction is then the rate, if the rate is 15, VAT amount is come to the in 150,000 invoices 15,000, right? Say the increase of the scope, the local supplied garment by BO enterprise. Earlier we charged for the 25 rupees. Now it has been increased to 75 rupees. Then the government very easily collect the 3 times of revenue for this type of increase, right? So any taxable person or parties, including distributors who has registered for the VAT, should issue its own tax units to any purchase who has registered for the VAT upon his request. Now all the people, those who have registered for the value added tax, they must issue the tax units and also obtain the tax invoices in guarantee. Now very recently again, the scope was, the tax is base was, the way we normally we use the word of base was, tax base was again widened. Earlier, the operating lease were not subjected to the value added tax. Now, in this type here, we made it liable for a normal value tax. Earlier, the operating lease was subject to the finance VAT. Right, there are some finance VAT also on that basis. Now, this very reason was made liable to operating lease for the value added tax. But if the government want to next year to change this one and not to charge a tax on the operating leases, government can remove this exemption. That means that now we know authority has been invested to the Ministry of Finance. That is the policy maker. That means in the, again in the master student you all must learn in taxation there are 2 types of things to be identified. One is the policy side and other one is the administrative side. These are very very important aspects of the research area. The tax policy makers make the policy, but tax administrators administrate the relevant act. That means the relevant legislations are made by the tax policy makers. The Commissioner General of the in Sri Lankan country, Commissioner General doesn't have the power to change the laws. That mandates come from the parliaments. But to change the changes, mandate has been the government, the ruling government. Then they make the relevant policy issues. Say the very recent, in concurrence, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Prime Minister proposed to propose wholesale and retail trade also must come to the value added tax liability. For that sense, they made some policy changes to value added taxation on wholesale and retail trade. That's a completely policy change. If the next time government need to remove the value added taxation in the wholesale and retail trade in order to decrease the price level of the goods and services, they can take a policy decision. The tax administrations have no any right to take that type of decision, and therefore policy part is up to the policy makers. That means the ministries level and also those who are rule this country. And in simple words, in the Ministry of Finance and also policy the officers of the Ministry of Finance, including Minister Secretary and then the Director General of Fiscal Policy and other units and all. But once the policy is changed, it becomes as a law. Then the changes of the law is passed by the Parliament. The Commissioner General of the Tax Administration have to collect the taxes. Now here we learn in this classroom only what is the tax administration part. The policy makers had introduced the income taxation, and also policy makers introduced the value added taxation made changes, and also policy makers very recent before 5-6 years ago decided to introduce the nation building tax. Now we are collecting nation building tax. Commissioners only have to collect the nation building tax. If the policy maker took a decision, nation tax bill collected by separate department saying establishing, then that department has to collect the taxes. But as a policy matter, since in Sri Lanka there are 3 revenue agency collected tax revenues, only custom department and the excise department, national minimum tax collection was entrusted to was given to the purview of the Commissioner General. But if the government had wanted to give to excise department, excise should have collected the NBT. But government decided to the administration power to be given to the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue. If the next year government had to introduce new tax and establish a new department, that type of decision can be taken by the policy level. Then if the policy level, if they take wrong decision, that effect is the tax administration, the tax revenue. And so the effect comes for both level. If you are evaluating the revenue effect on the some changes, that must be due to it has been due to the mistake or the policy level or the administrative level. If the government, once the rate is increased in order to collect more revenue as a policy decision, sometimes say the value-added taxation rate is increased, the price level is increased. If the demand is gone down, the revenue, accepted revenue does not come to the country, and also the price level is gone up, the demand gone down, then the same consumption level and same demand is existed, the projected revenue can be collected, but the revenue is drastically gone down due to the increase of the tax rates, and people goes with the alternative, the expected revenue does not come to the treasury and the coffee. Then, and also it can be happen, the same demand is, the rate is increased, the demand level was not changed, same demand level was existed and also increased, but due to the administrative inefficiency, expected revenue does not come. Say, though we introduce the value-added taxes on wholesale and retail, all those who are not, the traders, those who have exceed 50 million turnover per annum, not register the value taxation, and the Commissioner General failed to register all these people, then there is a administration inefficiency. Though we have registered every people of this country for a subject to value taxation, but if they are not correctly reporting or correctly paying taxes or not reporting correct amount, still we are that is a administration inefficiency. There is a policy administration level inefficiencies, and also the to make good tax system of the country, policy makers must also make their policies good policies in order to reach the expected objectives, and also the tax administrators also take a step to collect optimal revenue. Like that, these are some policy level and the difference between the policy level and the administration level. In Sri Lanka, we all must learn. In Sri Lanka, we have the self-assessment tax system. Under self-assessment tax system, the person who is liable to pay taxes, he must voluntarily come to the department, get the registration, and start to pay taxes on self-assessment basis. Voluntarily, he must pay the taxes. That is apply for all the taxes. Even income taxes, any person whose income exceeds 500,000 per annum, he must voluntarily come to the tax department and get the registration number and start to pay tax. He must prepare his own accounts and he must say, this is my income, and apply the rates, and he must pay the tax. That is the way that the self-assessment tax system works. The same theory is applied for the value-added taxation. If any service provider, the manufacturer of goods and services whose value of taxable supply per annum is exceed 12 million to 3 million per quarter, he must voluntarily come to the tax department and get the registration number, and periodically he has to pay the taxes. That is the on that way self-assessment tax system works. If it is so, on one, now we must learn the success of voluntary tax, self-assessed tax expense is depend on taxpayers' compliance. That is also one area for the research for a master level is to tax compliance. The rate of tax compliance or that means the tax compliance affected to the government revenue. The tax compliance is very high. That means all the person who are liable to pay taxes and they are timely registered and timely payment and correctly reporting, then tax compliance that means tax compliance are very high. Say in Sri Lanka, in population, 20 million population, the government estimate 5% of this 10% of the people of this country have the income of more than 500,000. Then we can easily compute the amount of the people. And same amount of people have been registered for the income tax. That means all the people have been registered. Now then we know the tax compliance, registration compliance is very high. And same way, all the registered people have paid taxes in due dates and self-assumed basis. Now we know the payment compliance also very high. All the people of this country registered for the taxation have correctly reporting and paying taxes and filing return in due dates. Then we saw tax compliance, reporting compliance and the return filing compliance also very high. If that rate is going down, say the percentage is 100, optimal level is 100, the percentage of registration is 50%, that means low level of tax compliance for the registration. According to the government estimate, there must be more than 20 million, say the 2 million people of this country has the income more than exceed to 500,000, but registered only 2 million, say, according to the estimate, 2 million of people of this country have the income exceed 500,000, but still registered to the tax department is 1 million. That means 100 million has 1 million have not been registered. The tax compliance is estimate is we can grossly estimate 50%. Now there is a big gap that the tax administrator address that gap. Say the 1 million have been registered, but up to that 1 million, say that is apply for all the value added tax, income tax, all the taxes, the registered amount, all the people have registered also not paying tax in time. Only 50% of this the registered person paying taxes in time. That means compliance rate is 50%. And also say the due date, say that take example, the due date for the person income return is 30th November of the each year. But say the 500,000 have been registered for the income taxes, but on the due date only 250,000 have filed the return on before prior to that date. That means tax compliance is 50%. Right. Now here we must learn under the self-assessment tax system, the success of the tax administration is depend on the tax compliance. That means under the tax self-assessed tax system, success of the tax system is depend on the tax compliance. Tax compliance is depend on the behavior of the citizen of the country. If all the law-abiding people of this country, then when any tax law is introduced, if they abide by the law, they come to the tax department and they start to pay taxes. If so, even though people abide the law, if they do not have the sufficient knowledge of taxation and all, then that is the lack of their education. They are not registering, they are not paying any taxes, and they do not know about what are the actions against the failure of payment taxes to the registration. They must educate. If it is so, the tax administration main duty is the educate the taxpayers, get the more and more tax compliance. The first step is that any tax system success is depend on the taxpayer compliance. Taxpayer compliance is depend on the taxpayers behavior, that is the positive behavior, they are more and more compliance. To increase the tax level of tax compliance level, the tax administration duties educate the taxpayers. For that purpose, then you have to get your all the other knowledge of management, communication and all the other subject, how to educate the people, what type of media to be selected, then you can apply your knowledge to the other subjects and all, right? Right, as I said, the Value Added Tax Act recognize the exemptions also. The conceptually we are learning the exemptions. Now see in the very recent budget, these exemptions were removed. The telecom services were exempt from the value added taxation up to 2016. The government had to collect more revenue through this telecommunications sector. Then government remove the exemption. Exemption removed means the supply of telecom service made liable to VAT. Now this sector also have to pay taxes. These are the other removal of exemptions and all. Then these people also have to pay taxes. See, again the controversial issues was the extension of to increase the tax base of this country. The minister policy makers reintroduced the value added taxation for the healthcare sector. Earlier healthcare tax sector was exempted for the taxation in order to decrease the price level of the healthcare sector. Now there were some amendments were introduced. Now medical practices are liable, channel impedes, hospital room charges. But still exemptions is entitled for the dialysis and other reports and all. Some service of the healthcare sector has been exempted. These are the made liable for area. All other sectors are say that if any patient got outdated treatment from the private hospital and the employed doctors provide medical service and charge, that amount is exempted, right? But here only for medical practitioners, medical consultant fees and the channel fees and hospital room charges. But you see the here room charges, but see no any medicine charges are in all those items are exempt on that way. Now if someone, this is only very research papers, not a big research, one can analyze the impact of the introduction of the taxes for the healthcare sector. What is the revenue impact of this on this introduction? Only few hospitals are in only very few hospitals in this country take the once the sample is take the, we can collect all information can be collected from all the hospital and we can analyze the revenue impact of the introduction of the taxes for the healthcare sector. And also there is some exemption, but the removing the earlier, what is the foregone income of the exemption, and we must get on that details and the collection we can get the number of taxes and all we can get and make a small prepare a research papers. We must learn that how to, if someone need to make a research papers or the research document, how to select topics from the value added taxation, right? That is also very important area of this, right? See, these are the exemptions. See, again, we theoretically we learn when we compute the tax liability, we take the full supplies, we reduce the exemption and likewise we can get the liable parts, right? See, these are the other removal of exemption, right? See, take all this area and get the, when we make a research paper, we have to get all the taxpayer registered person of this particular industries and the suppliers and get the revenue impacts, what is the amount of that we are, if we, what is the amount of, initially stage we can get their amount of turnover and we can apply the rates and we can estimate the foregone revenue through this exemption. And once the revenue is come to the removal made liable, this one we can make the we can analyze the impact of the removal, right? Right now that is we today we close the learning of the value add taxation. Now we have the two types of tax we have to learn. Or the one is the national bill tax and another one is the economic service charges, right? All the concepts are, as we learn, threshold, periods, rates, imports and all that. Then now we know the conceptually we know what are the things involved in the taxation. Right. Again, once the government need to collect more and more revenue, government impose taxes. In Sri Lanka in 1932, the British rulers introduced the income taxes to Sri Lanka, and only for a taxation income on the persons, they collect the tax revenue. But later only for income of the income some sources. But in 1958 they had want to collect more and more revenue through the income taxation. They widened the tax base, introducing the capital gain taxation. Right? Then capital gain taxation was introduced, and accordingly the government increased the more taxes. While up to 1957 they started upon the 400,000 of threshold and increased the threshold time to time. 400, 5,000, 8,000, 12,000, like the way increasing and increasing. Earlier, not the 400, 400 rupees. Likewise, you can learn the threshold, only we are learning here the threshold level for 1932. Then, in 1963, government, so again I am going to highlight to, there are in taxation, there are the taxation in the taxation are recognized as recognizing criteria. One criteria is direct and indirect taxes. The indirect taxation, the person to whom the taxes have been levied, he has to pay the taxes. That means again that means he then according to the term of fiscal policy and of the taxation, economic and legal both incidents are passed to the person to whom the taxes is levied. He can't, the income taxation, they can't, once the tax is imposed, he can't pass it to the others. That is so the one area for the tax, research area for the taxation, whether the income tax was introduced, can it pass to the consumers and all. That is also one big area for the research. In other tax is indirect tax. Well, indirect tax means the tax is tax is levied to the person who should register for the taxes, but he passed the taxes to the consumer. That means he added the tax amount to the price level of the good or the services. Then once the good and services consumed by the consumer, the public, they pay the taxes. In indirect taxation, the economic incident is passed to the consumer and legal is passed to the taxpayer. And the indirect taxation was introduced in Sri Lanka in 1963 under the Finance Act. Right? Now we know in Sri Lanka, indirect tax was introduced under the Finance Act. The name as business turnover tax. Business turnover tax was introduced for the wholesale, retail and wholesale trade and also manufacturing service sectors. Then time to time that law was changed, and in 1988 there are a lot of changes come to the business, the separate act was introduced for the business turnover tax. For business turnover tax act implement up to 1998 till the good and services tax was introduced. As we discussed, once even taxation business turnover tax, or the manufacturers in manufacturing sector was partly introduced the credit mechanism in order to reduce the price level. But that means value-added tax mechanism was part of the value-added tax mechanism was introduced in the manufacturing sector under the Business Turnover Tax Act. Likewise, in 1996 again, what the law is prevailed in this country, government had wanted to collect more and more revenue through the taxation. Then government had wanted to introduce other type of indirect tax called National Security Levy. The word itself implies the meaning of the tax, the National Security Levy. Then the rate was introduced 1, 1.5, 2, like the different rates were changed. The same concepts were involved for the threshold also involved. Through the National Security Levy, also collected by the government as a revenue devices. Then Sri Lanka had the two type up to 1998. Sri Lanka had two type of indirect tax called business turnover tax and the national security levy. Then always people are talking about the country. In Sri Lanka we have the complete system. Several number of taxes are very high. It is very difficult for the compliance for the taxpayers. One taxpayer has to pay income tax. He has to pay the business turnover tax. He has to pay the national security levy. Then he has to pay more and more taxes, and also all the indirect taxes are value is added to the price level of the goods and services. Then government had wanted to simplify the tax system and saying that right, we do not implement two type of tax indirect taxes. Then they introduced the value added tax incorporating the National Security Levy and the Business Turnover Tax Act. Then it was implemented some periods. Now in 1998, National Security Levy was abolished. Right? Then the government again collected taxes through the income tax and the value added taxes and other taxes like stamp duty, economic service charge, betting and gaming levy, like that. There's many type of taxes government raised collection, and also government had wanted more and more revenue. Once the law was over, then government had wanted to more and more revenue to reconstruction of the rebuild of the country. And therefore the government introduced the new tax called nation building tax. Say the word of this act also the purpose of this purpose also implied and very explicit the purpose, the nation building, that government collecting taxes through this one to build the nation. That means to spend more money for the development process of this country. Right? That is the main objective of the introduction of the nation building tax. That is also the indirect tax. The tax is imposed to the goods and services. It has added to the good price level of the goods and services. Right? That tax was also passed by the parliament after passed by the parliament and signed approved by the speaker. From effective 1st February 2009, National Building Tax Act number 9 of 2009 was implemented. The main purpose of imposing tax is to collect revenue of the government for the purpose of financing the cost of infrastructure development, especially in the north and east. Then one can visit that area where we can no one can especially say that all the money is collected through this NBT was spent for the development of the north and east. The government had collected more revenue, and part of that was spent for the construction activities of the north and even not only the north and east and the south and the other provinces also. But anyway, the government the government want to justify why the government is more and more taxes. Then people can understand, though we pay taxes, the ultimate benefits come to the again for us. On that basis, government saying that type of things is saying, but that is factual things. Any government revenue collected by the government is again spent for the benefit of this country. If the more and more revenue tax collected for the taxation, again the same revenue is spent for the education, healthcare sector, in the infrastructure development and all. Right? That is not for the national revenue tax. Even any taxes, these are the same object of the collecting taxation. Right? The chargeability come. Again, as in other tax laws, NBT tax also clarify the following with regard to the chargeability. Who has liable to NBT? What? See, these are the conceptual things. The same you but you can get who is liable to pay income tax. What is the period of income tax? On what basis income tax is payable? This same concept are involved, right? Now today we are learning all these acts, right? On what basis, right? Person is liable to NBT. Now since we have learned the conceptuals and the theoretical part of the taxation, and now policy experts and all, now we can apply the things through this one. See, here chargeability come. Any person who imports any article, carries on the business of manufacture of any article, carries on business of providing service, carries on the business of wholesale or retail sales of any article, not a manufacturer. Here, carries on business of manufacturer we have included, say, now imports of any article, right? Any person who imports article under the value added taxation also, they are subject to that. All the importers are chargeable value added tax on that. But this act also implemented by the Commission General of Inland Revenue. On the request of the Commission General, the director for that purpose relevant legislation have been research framework have been provided in the value added act as these enabling tax act. Director General of Custom collect the taxes once the good is imported by the importer. Once the good is clear, the way that custom is collected by the Director of Custom, they should collect the NBT and the value added tax. The computation method of the value added tax on the imports also is specified in the Value Added Tax Act in the NBT Act. The formula for the collection of the VAT and the NBT on the imports are, first we get the CIF value of the imports and added the duty and all other payments and uplifted by the 10% and apply the value added tax or the NBT rates, right? Though not the actual value is taken for the collect the taxes. We take the CIFL at the custom duties and other taxes levied by the custom and added all that and on uplifted that value by some percentage 10 that can be again changed to 15 or the 20 and any values. But the uplifted, that is again the conceptual things, that value to be uplifted and apply the correct the applicable rate for the value, and on that basis Director of Custom collect the taxes. That is the liability for the liable for the NBT. These are the person who are liable for the NBT. Supply finance in Sri Lanka by any person carrying on the business of banking finance. Very recently, when we initially introduced the NBT, only the tax base was import of any article, carrying business of manufacturing any article and carry some business of providing any, that was not there, right? But wholesale retail and retail were there, but later we introduced the carry some business of providing service. In the same way, the period also involved. Again, the new things. The period is labeled as different name. The income taxation, the tax period we recognize as the year of assessment. We called as year of assessment. The income taxation tax period is called as year of assessment. Payment of taxes by installment, we use the word of quarterly. Installment must be paid in quarterly. Then again the value added taxation period is called taxable period, not the year of assessment, taxable period. But in income tax, year of assessment is started from 1st April and ending on 31st March. But in value added taxation, the two periods are involved, monthly base and the quarterly base. The monthly period is start 1st of the month and the ending the end date. But the quarter is in taxable periods. The quarterly period is ended 31st March, 30th June, 30th September, 31st December. On that basis, period is. For NBT also, the word of period is also include that taxable periods, right? Then quarterly, on that in NBT, taxes are paid in quarterly basis. But again, the income taxation, income is recognized as profit and income. But again, in contrast with the value added taxation, the value is called as taxable supply. We do not use the profit or the income or the revenue. We use the taxable supply or the value of supply. Different name are used. In value added taxation, the value of supply or the value of revenue or that is the turnover, simple terms. But in NBT taxation, taxable period is quarter, the value is recognized as turnover. Use the turnover. The value of tax supply in each act is defined same way. The turnover, NBT act also define the word turnover. The turnover is any amount received or receivable of the transaction during the particular period, whether it is received or including any bad debts recovered, and also exclude some amounts, some sale of fixtures and all like that. The depreciation has clearly been given in the nation building tax. If any word is confused with any taxing act, we must refer the interpretation section. That interpretation section defines the word. If you confuse with the profit and income, what is the profit and income means, immediately we must refer the relevant interpretation. Then profit and income, the word is defined in the interpretation section. Then immediately no one can get the full idea of the profit and income. Then in the Inland Act define the profit and income is profit and income is computed in accordance with the provision of this act, but not with the accepted accountancy principle of the commercial accountancy. According to the Inland Act, profit and income means any adjusted profit, any adjustment made to the profit ascertained with the commercial principle, ascertained with the commercial accounting principles, right? On that basis, then we use the word of turnover, right? Now we see NBT is payable, imports any article, taxable period quarterly, quarter start from the 1st January, April, July or the October, or you can say the quarter ended with the 1st January, 31st March, April 30th June, July 30th September, October 31st December. The payment of taxes for 31st March come to any taxes for the quarter ended for 31st March consists for the January, February and March turn of the March. Right, here see the NBT pays the amount of the turnover in a quarter. However, if the turnover of a quarter does not exceed 3 million with April 2000, does not exceed 3. Right, sorry, here some mistake. Right, again, the law was 3 point before. Now the existing law is threshold for the NBT registration is 3 million per quarter, 12 million per annum. Before that, 15 million per annum or the 3,750,000 per quarter. But other than, but that was normal threshold. But this here. Right. Case of NBT. The threshold for the registered for the NBT was the 15 million per annum. Those periods, these sectors, turnover for the payment of NBT was 25 million. That means threshold for the payment of NBT for the operating hotel, guest house, restaurant, other similar business, threshold is 25 million. If any this category of people had business had a turnover more than 20 million, they would have not paid the NBT. Why? Their resistance is what? 25 million, right? Now registration level that has been, now again we are learning the conceptual thing. Different threshold can be introduced for the different sectors. See the value NBT Act, the standard registration level was 3.7 million per quarter, or the annum 15 million. Some sectors threshold resistance is about 25 million. These are the sectors, this were, right? That has been changed by the recent budget. The recent budget, it was reduced to the 3 million, right? NBT is payable on the liable turnover in case of import. The value of importation for NBT is same as value of importation of any article determined by the purpose of NBT Act, right? In case of others, see, some receivable whether receive or not. That means the act. See, on this basis you have to get the some receivable whether receive or not from the sale of goods or provision of service in Sri Lanka and shall not include. Say, NBT must be paid in accrual basis, not for the cash basis. Value-added tax also paid in accrued basis. In income taxes also, income also paid in income to be ascertained in the accrual basis. That is par with the accounting standard all. Right? See, these are the excess and bad debt received incurred. Any VAT paid, these are not included in the. See the only for a clarification here, you can get the full list from the NBT Act. Anyone can access the NBT Act and the other relevant amendments through our website. The example, palm essential food items and printed books have been excelled under NBT also. They the same. See as I said, theoretically and conceptually in value-added tax also some exemptions were there. Why exemptions have been given? To reduce the price level. The same way once the NBT for the pharmaceutical, essential food items and printed books and all, or the price level is increased, then price levels are increased, the consumers have to bear the tax impacts, and therefore this type of essential goods and that essential food items means the rice, dal, canned fish, like that, those rice, flour and all have been under the NBT Act also, that type of essential food and printed books, or the printed books and all. Since this that are being for a used by the students and all, that is also exempted from the NBT. That means NBT Act also recognize the exemptions. Right. Say conceptually, the NBT Act also recognize the rates. Rate of NBT is 2% for the period after January 1st. However, there are special rebate applicable to the following person, right? In case of wholesale or retail trader of any article, 50% liable turnover is deducted as rebate, and accordingly the effective rate is on the total turnover, right? Say for a simple example, some hotel and retail trader turnover was 100 million, then we only get the 50%. Then that means his turnover is 50 million. They should not pay his full amount of turnover, only get the half of this one, apply the rate of 2%. If we apply for 100 million, then he should pay the tax. His effective tax rate is 1%, right? For NB, For NBT, effective tax rate for the wholesale and retail trade is 1%, not the 2%. Why? The 50% of the turnover is gone as rebate. Any person who are registered for the NBT for the wholesale and retail trade, he can say he is paying 2% of tax for his turnover. Why? He is paying 1% of tax for as NBT. Why? He get the rebate of 50%. His turnover is 100 million. He paid taxes only for a 50 million, but apply the rate of 2. Then effective tax rate is if the 2% is applied, he has to pay 100,000. For 100 million, he has to pay 1 million. If that 1% is applied, 100 million also he has to pay 1 million. That means the effective tax, that is we call the effective tax rates. The effective tax rate also the one conceptual things in the taxation, say the in income, these are the areas of the master level student for the research and all, not this simple calculation and all, but effective tax rate, say these are the very important things of the to be learned. Say the in Sri Lanka, the corporate tax rate is say that 28%. When the dividend is distributed, again 10% has to be paid for the distribution. Say the government has introduced dividend tax. Say for 100 million of taxes, if the only income tax, say the for easy understanding, say the rate is 30%, then only he has to pay 30 million. That means if the only for a 30% is existed, effective tax rate for the tax is 30%. Say if the company has not distributed dividend for its shareholders, again the company had to pay dividend tax of 1 million for the distributable profits. Then he has to pay 31 million. Now what is the effective tax rate is for the company? 31%. Though we are calling tax rate is 30% for the corporate, effective tax rate is 30%. That is one. Then if any research done for the saving and investment area of the corporate capital formation and all, we must compute the effective tax rate, not the simple tax rate. Say the one can simply argue if the corporate is taxed at the rate of 30, still corporate can save the 70 and can make further investment to expand their industry or the businesses. But same time the taxpayers argue, no, that you are saying the 30% and we can save the 70, we can't save the 70. But you are taxing other taxes like dividend tax. We have to spend for other 1 or 2 million for the that tax. If it is goes to 5%, their capital tax is 35, then their savings of the corporate is 65. Not only that one, in Sri Lanka even in profit base, financial VAT is charged on the profit base. Then financial VAT is paying. Now they are paying more than corporate tax. That is also not the deductible expenditure. Even this tax also have to be borne by the corporate. Then effective tax, even part of the value-added tax also come as corporate tax. Then effective rate is gone more and the savings is gone down. If someone is making a research of the corporate saving and investment, and the effect of taxation for the investment and the taxation for the savings, these are the areas to research. We must learn the effective tax rates especially in income taxes. Even on the evaluating the price level, only we analyze the price level of goods and service, we must get the rate of tax change and the scope of the value added or the NPT or all other taxes. On the impact of price level, we get the indirect taxes. Say, there are some areas it is difficult to recognize the turn of the companies. There are some distributors in this country. They are receiving commission. The company, same time company says we are not paying, they buy and sell our goods. The agent says, no, we are agent, we are receiving the commission. This is not our turn to be gone to the manufacturer or the manufacturer or the owner of goods. Then some distortions come for the definition of the turnover, especially in in milk food sector, the Anchor, the famous brand of Anchor, and other Litro gas, they are selling their goods to the distributor channel, but there are some common distributing agent. In such cases, distributor collect more and more billions of rupees, but he get a very less amount of commission, 2% or 6%. The Ceylon Tobacco Company, they have the agent. Even Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, they have some island-wide distribution network that we call the fuel station. Then they are the people who collect the money. Then confusion comes once the tax is imposed or they are sales. They have billions of dollars, they have to pay the taxes. Then, but still they are receiving 2% or 3% commission. In such cases, if the 2% is asked them to pay 1% of taxes, they can't. They difficult to exist in the business. It will be difficult to continue their business, and therefore the act defined in such cases at the administration level, the Commissioner General decided and put in the act. In such cases, you take on that basis, you take the 75% of, take the rebate as 75%. Now effective tax is the 0.5, not the 1%, right? If 100 million is turnover for some distributor, he should only pay the taxes for a 25 million, apply the rate of 2.5. But effective rate tax rates come for, if same amounts come, if we apply the 100 million to 0.5, same taxes come, same amounts come, right? Right. The present sales for the liable turn of NBC quarter or 25 million per certain entities. Here we said up to recent budget changes, right? Up to budget changes 7.5 million, right? Reduced to 3 million from the quarter commencing from April 2016, right? Here, operating guest house, then now they also have, here, before that, their turnover was 25 million. Now this will come to this level, but only now exempted locally produced agricultural produce. All others are including the following. Now they are liable, right? These are the only, that's now 25 million threshold is only applied for a locally produced agricultural produce. The removal exception, these are the exemption. These exemptions, as value add taxation, these exemptions were removed. Now again we made liable for a NBT, supply electricity, including the supply to the national grid. Here the NBT was introduced the electricity sector. All the people of this country, the politicians made allegation that the price, the electricity bill is increased. The same time, the Minister of Power and Energy announced that no, we bear the tax part and we will not increase the price level of the electricity. Right? Right. These are the normal law. There are only we are conceptually we must learn. These are the right. There's some computation methods are involved. So only for information for manufacturers in case of NBT, manufacturers are entitled to claim the whatever amount paid on their material purchase or the import of any NBT paid on imports. That means value added part of the value added mechanism was introduced for the only for a manufacturing sector, but still there are some restrictions. Even manufacturers they are not entitled to claim the input on the purchases of the services. For the, if you need more and get more understand the NBT, you have to refer the relevant the NBT Act, full NBT Act and the relevant amendments made to the NBT Act. Even reading the NBT Act, you can get the full idea of taxes and NBT. We must read together all the amendments up to 2017. Then we can get the full idea of the implementation of the NBT. Then we only say is that for NBT, only for manufacturing sector, they are entitled to claim the input tax on their purchase of goods and the taxes paid in the imports import level, import points, right? See, there is one criticism for the tax administration and the tax policy makers in the world, even not only Sri Lanka, even global context, tax systems are more and more complicated. The complicated comes in one aspect is introduce different type of taxes. The even one tax is implemented, tax rules are more complicated. The tax system is more complicated. It is difficult to understand the taxpayers. It is very, very difficult. Here, again taxation. Many concepts to be learned in first. Any tax system, as Adam Smith says, and also Adam Smith, Keynes, Hugh all the economics says the four canon of the taxation, four principles of the taxation. The tax must be certain, not be subject to more and more changes, is more understandable. Flexibility, like that there are four principles. One is the simplicity. The simplicity again the complexity now. Now one means the tax system of this country consists of more and more taxes. That means we have not observed the principle of the simplicity. Any good tax system must be simplicity. There must be a characteristic of simplicity. Simplicity in the one aspect is that there must be one or two taxes. In Sri Lankan context, we can see that now up to now this level we learn now this is as the power comes. No, now we learn the income taxes, we learn the value add taxes. Now we learn the NB taxes. Now the four type of tax. Now in this process, we are learning but in the even canon of the tax principle of taxation, any good tax system must be must be observed the simplicity. But simplicity comes in different forms. The complement the one tax law and the tax and the type of taxes. In our tax system consists of different type of tax system, right? Now we have different tax laws to collect taxes. Say through the indirect taxation, all pay in the 20% of tax. If the government need to collect 20%, they can implement one tax, they can collect the same taxes, right? Economic service charge. But then we must learn why the economic service charge is imposed in Sri Lanka. Right? Before that, we must learn the rationale behind that. What any tax administration, the tax policy makers in the globe have identified the tax exemption and the tax incentives. While the one person are paying tax, the one person is not paying for the same income. In Sri Lankan context, the one hotel is paying taxes for their profit and one other hotel, adjoining other hotel is not paying taxes. Why? One is enjoy the tax exemption. But in that context, but still both are use the infrastructure facilities of the country. The person who paying taxes, they contribute the national government revenue. That means they contribute for the infrastructure development. They can very proudly they can say that we are using this infrastructure facilities of the country since we are paying taxes. But other persons, they are not paying any taxes to the government, still they are enjoying the full benefit of the government infrastructure facilities, saying any tax company claim tax exemption, put a factory in close to the highways, he can get the full benefit of the highways, but he has not contributed single cent through the tax system to develop the government revenue. But in that sense, the countries in the world globe to get the more contributions from the each person who earn and enjoy the benefit of the infrastructure, they were asked to pay some amount of taxes. Why? Some are paying taxes, while some are paying tax, some are not paying, doing the same, while they are deriving same income. For that purpose, in order to guarantee the equality, is the one concept of the taxation, one canon of the taxes inequity. Then, countries introduce the minimal alternative tax. That is, in simple words, we call the MAT. In a lot of countries, MAT has been introduced, minimum alternative tax. Why? Now, in that act, under the minimum alternative tax act system, any person who has derived any income, they have to contribute they have to pay the taxes as issued by the applicable laws. Any person say the MAT rate is, minimum alternative tax rate is for 5% for the profits. Any person, whether he has paid, whether he has claimed exemption for his profit, he has to pay 5% of MAT. That is his minimum alternative tax. But any person who has paid more taxes than that amount, he does not require to pay the MAT. Say the one company, he is not enjoying any tax exemption, he is paying 10% of taxes, say for 100 million tax income, he pay the 10 million of taxes. Right? The other person, he earning 100 million, but he claimed the exemption for a full profit. But once the MAT is implemented, he has to pay 5% of minimum alternative tax of 5 million. Right? But the person who paid the rate of 10% and he has paid more than the 5 million minimum ordinance, he should not require to pay MAT. But any person, those who are not paid any tax through here, they have to pay the minimum alternative tax to contribute for the government revenue since they also enjoy the benefit of the development infrastructure, other facilities which is provided by the governments. On that sense, in Sri Lanka also there was a lot of debate that lot of foreign direct investors, foreign companies, they are enjoying tax exemption and they are not paying in a single cents. They derive billions profit and they are taking that profit to their countries and they are not paying taxes. In the same way, Indian Act also introduced some lot of exemption. They are claiming exemption and they are not paying taxes while they are enjoying more and more benefit of the infrastructure facilities. On that sense, government thought to collect minimum or taxes from the person who has enjoyed all this benefit of this country. That objective, in order to collect revenue also, government into the economic service charge. The economic service charge was initially introduced to Sri Lanka under the Finance Act. For students of taxation, you all must learn that in Sri Lanka we have the act called Finance Act. Any act or levy imposed by the government, government can impose that tax in even under the Finance Act. As I earlier explained, business tax was first introduced in Sri Lanka. It was introduced under the Finance Act but collected by the Commission of Inland Revenue. The same way, National Security Levy Act was National Security Act initially introduced by the under the Finance Act but collected by the Commission of Inland Revenue. Same way, NBT Act, NBT not that, but Economic Service Charge was introduced under the Finance Act. Therefore, when the taxes student of the taxation, they must have idea of the Finance Act. Although Finance Act also you can download for the, you can access to the through the Ministry of Finance website and the Department of Inland Revenue website. You can download and you can read the. There are so many amendments for the Finance Acts. Right now we know the rationale behind the introduction of the economic service charge to the Sri Lanka. Right, economic service payable in Secretary Act. Now the if some according to the current period, economic service charge is imposed under the Act number 13 of 2006 of Economic Service Charge Act. Right? Right. Tax base. We learn the income tax is profit and income base. Value added taxation, taxable supply base, excluding some exemption and the exclusions. And also the base is, when the base is decided, we must take into consideration the threshold also, exemption and the exclusion, right? Tax base is turnover per the quarter from 1st April 2006. Again, see again we use the threshold 7.5 million quarter, right? Right. The initial stage, right. Economic service, then again the conceptually must learn to what category this tax falls, whether it is a direct tax or the indirect tax. Any tax system, if we are going to analyze in tax system, we must decide whether it is the direct tax or the indirect tax. So once the tax incidence is computed, they analyze, then here the economic service charge is, if any paid by any person who has been registered, that tax can be take as tax credit against the income tax. That if it is so, that is all the income. That means if any income tax payer, registered payer has the payable of income tax, he has to pay that tax. If he has paid ESC for the particular period, he can take ESC as the tax credit against the income tax payable. Very simple thing. Any income tax payable, ESC, any ESC paid can be treated as tax paid, can be treated as tax credit against the income tax payable. Say the company has a tax liability of 50 million for year ended 31st March 2016. His tax liability is 50 million, but during that period, he has paid 5 million of ESC, he can deduct that 5 million again the income tax payable. Only here you have learned that ESC also come as tax again the income tax payable, not for the other taxes of the particular income tax payable. So again the threshold, that is also the conceptual things on the taxation threshold involved, that is subject to change. Very recent budget, Minister of Finance reduced to 50 million, increase to 50 million the quarter, now 12.5 million per quarter. Here currently 50 million per annum, right? Currently 50 million per quarter, that means 200 million up to 2012. Currently 50 million per annum. Up to the 31st March 2017, the threshold was 50 million per quarter, that means 200 million per annum. Now 50 million per annum, 7.5 million, 12.5 million per quarter, right? This is only we have learned there is some threshold for the ESC. After referring the prevailing rate, you can find the threshold for the taxes, right? Chargeability, maximum chargeability, right? That is also some, here the new concept of the ESC. Maximum chargeable ESC for the quarter is 30 million. Commencing from 1st April 19, now rupees 50 million. Say, in some cases, some companies, they had the 5-6 billion of turnover. If the rate 1% of the 0.5 is applied, they had to pay in the same period. Say, this is disclosed documents for the public. So that say the petroleum corporations like electricity boards, their turnover goes to 60 billions. Even 1% rate of applied during this period, they had to pay 60 billion, 50 billion of ESC. But in therefore, to guarantee the cash flow provisions, they said you apply the rates for your threshold, the turnover, but should not exceed 30 million per year. But he must pay the maximum amount. Though the say in the particular period 7.5 million quarter per, say once the turnover, consider turnover and apply the rate per quarter, if the amount comes as 10 million, but he should pay only for 7.5 million. Maximum is 7.5. Though the amounts come for more than the 7.5 million quarter for this period, only they have to pay only 7.5 million. The maximum amount was decided, but that was increased to for another 50 million. But only though the computation method was applied, the computation method to be applied for the turnover and consider the rates. That formula is applied. If the amounts come for more than 50 million, they should not pay the 15. Only for he limit the payment to 50 million or the 12.5 million per quarter. That means any person should not pay ESC for now according to the current law. 12.5 million of ESC for a quarter. He should not pay more than, according to his computation, his turnover and the rate is amount come more than that. But he should limit it to he can get more benefit using these rules, tax rules. He can apply the maximum chargeability. But without in tax administration officer or the person who file the ESC return of the company does not know about these rules. Sometimes he may pay more tax. If he only know the rates and the turnover, he apply the rates and pay more taxes. But there some rule is there. But in ESC also there were some tax exemptions were introduced. Corporate societies, though their turnover goes to billions of billions, they should not pay their ESC for the turnover, right? Again, the ESC also charged based on the turnover, right? Like NBT, and for the purpose of ascertaining the turnover, there are a lot of rules were applied for that purpose, lot of gazette notification was issued, right? These are the central bank of zero exempted, right? Again, definition of turnover. The trade business percent of the total amount receivable or receivable. That means accrued basis ESU has to be paid. Right? The total amount receivable transactions entered into that quarter excluding, right? These are not part of the turnover, right? Without considering excluding, that if the total amount is considered the VAT collection, say that as we said, in some cases value is 100. If you had the 15, they collected 115. But 15 was part of the turnover of the business, right? Proceed for disposal capital assets. So that during the period, if we dispose some motor vehicle or things or the other assets and receive some amount, that part is not taken as the for the turnover, right? License commercial bank for non-resident person, right? They are innocent. Perera. Proceed from the sale of any clay roofs. This type is some fund voted by the parliament loan. On that basis, you can define the turnover. The turnover included any more on these activities. Say the proceed for sale of organic fertilizer by the manufacturer of such products. That amount is not liable for the considered for the compute the turnover for the payment of ESC. In case of bank and financial service, right? Different business people identify their turnover different bases. Say take the shipping agents or the commission agent, they recognize their turnover as the commission income. Sometimes they may collect thousands of millions, but their income is recognized as the commission, especially shipping agents. Their income is commission income. Likewise, there are some there are some lot of multinational companies. By some they are agent. Agent says though they sold goods, the turnover goes to the manufacturer or the owner of the goods. But without keeping the ownership of those goods, they are acting as agent. In such cases, they are getting some benefits and also commission income. In that cases, their income is commission income. Likewise, there are some other cases. Take the shipping agent. They provide a service for their shipping principals, but they collect more and more. They collect cargo from Sri Lanka and cargo for export cargo they collected. Once the import cargo comes, their principal ships, they help to clear and they made service for the principal and they collect some services. And then they recognize their income as the service income. In some cases, the income is recognized as the fees. Say they take the lawyers, sometimes they collect the stamp duty also. But stamp duty we collect that and pay for on behalf of these clients. That is not become his income. Likewise, turnover to be recognized different basis. Take the banking business, their income is recognized as an interest, especially in the leasing business. Though they collect lease capital and interest part, they recognize the turnover as the lease interest. Likewise, different type of business, depending on their nature of business and organization structures, they recognize the turnover in different basis and that basis turnover to be recognized. The ASC Act very clearly defined to each business to the way that the turnover to be recognized and the defined in order to pay the economic service charges. So these are some areas of this one. For all these areas, like we have already been incorporated the amendment as the NBT Act, but in some have been gazetted. For that purpose, student must know any act, again this is some conceptual thing, any tax administrative act, Inland Act, VAT Act, NBT and all act, some regulation, the minister has been empowered in the relevant act, issue the regulation and publish in the gazette. Why? We must know why the minister has been given that powers. Why? The law only can be changed by the parliament. People mandates have given to the rulers. Then rulers can change the laws. Commission has not been given any mandate to change the rules. In the election, the people of this country has given the mandate to the government. You change anything through the parliament. Then since that the minister represents the parliament and get the approval, he has been given the powers to make any regulation to change any unclear area of the act, implementing the act, to give full effect of the admission of this act. Minister can make regulation and pass it in publish in the gazette and get the approval of the parliament. Why? The minister has been given that power once in the mandate has been given the ruling governments. Any ruling government has appointed the Minister of Finance, he can issue any regulation. In some cases, Commissioner General also has been given to some powers to make some changes, to specify some business and all. On that basis, Commissioner General also can define some business categories and give some effect to implementation, and Commission also must gazette some changes of the specification through that one. Likewise, since the ESC Act was introduced, in subject of definition for the different type of business, lot of distortions comes and a lot of people, business sectors were lobbied. We have no such type of tax liability. Our turnover goes to billions of billions. If we apply the rates, we have to billions of billion taxes. We do not. At the end of the day, we do not have a tax liability, and therefore they ask for the reduced rate for the payment of taxes. To apply for the rates for the relevant turnover. On that purpose, to facilitate and also guarantee the equality of taxation principles, the minister gazetted the way of recognizing the turnover based on their businesses. See, apparel exporters, distributors, likewise different rates come. Say the manufacturing textile export. This is all in manufacturing. You must only you have learned the value added tax mechanism in Sri Lanka. In apparel sector, only we are doing the value addition. All the goods come, the material come from their principles. They send the relevant material. But once the good is products is manufactured and value for the custom purpose, the highest huge values comes to billions, but only value addition comes to 100 or 200, 300 million. But if we on the basis of the turnover, if they have to pay taxes, they have to pay big amounts. The instant rate is applied. To remove that type of distortions, the minister gazetted to way of compute the turnover. You can find this type of rates through the ESC Act. Only you can find through the gazette. For that purpose, only here you must learn that some gazettes. So since in administration tax in statute, minister can have the power to make regulation, and such regulations are published in the gazette, and then gazettes also become the regulation, also become the part of the law and equally apply for the administration. And therefore, when the tax law is implementation, the regulation published in the gazette also taken into accounts, right? Then the payment of taxation for this type of categories of taxpayers, the tax rules are in the gazettes, not the value added tax act. You can't find the BY company how to apply the 5% of trade reading referring any ESC Act or the NBT Act. Only you can refer the relevant gazette notification. 3-4 type of gazette also issued. That is the complexity of our tax system. If someone is analyze the complexity of tax system, one can say in Sri Lanka we have this type of different type of taxes in this past period. No, we can bear the even different type of taxes, but even each tax in act empower the minister to do the regulation. Under that regulation, minister has issued different regulation to number of gazettes, the value add taxation, ESC implementation, likewise for especially in the value add taxation to implementation of the value add as SWAT system, simplified system, SWAT system, we should lot of regulation through the gazette. That on that type of things come the complexity of the taxing system. You must learn on conceptual basis. That type of gazettes come, then the lecturer say in the act while he is saying the regulation is why the tax number of gazettes are relevant for each type of taxes. Then in the tax law only not only for the relevant statutes number, since the regulation become the part of the law, the tax administrators or the tax practitioners follow the regulations. Also on that basis, our in Sri Lanka tax system, one can argue that the complexity comes to that type of regulations. Also for that purpose, one can say there are different types of tax. Each actor has empowered the minister to use regulation. Under this, in this period, he has a number of regulations. Then number of regulations, and each gazette has this number of regulation, and you can analyze the complexity of the number of regulations and the number of gazettes and the total number of gazettes with each type of gazette in one period. Likewise, on that basis, complexity can be analyzed. These are the research area for the master level students, and also even PhD level students. These are the areas to be researched. The payment also you have to pay it in self-assessment basis. As I said, in ESC also paid in ESC basis. Return furnishing also there are some due dates. Normally we are used the terms of due date, furnishing due date in 31st March. The commission, then now here the earlier we had the quarterly based computation, furnishing return. We change to biannual. Now we are going to the annual basis. Likewise, only the conceptual things. Period can be changed even without getting some declaration. ESC can be implemented only since we are given the tax credit against the payment. Only we need the amount of payable. If even though taxpayer has notified the return, even the tax admission, taxpayer can compute their turnover based on the annual accounts, right? Currently, now we know the concept of this, and now latest amendments to this is 50 million per 12.1 million. We increased the threshold to 50 million. Now we recently import of vehicles of withhold tax mechanism for interest. We learn little changes under subject modification. Rate is now 0.5. See the in regulation here the rate was 1%, 0.5, 2.5 different rates. Now single rate of now this rate we wrote, so the current rate is 5%, but still the gazettes are affected, and therefore this type of business people can still apply this 2.5 is below the rate of 0.5. On that basis, taxpayers can apply it. Right, in other lecture in 12:30. Shall I take 10 minutes time? Right. Only for is very 5 minutes, 5 minutes time. Right. These are the new changes for I had discussed this here. But the threshold of NBT was now 3 million. Now there are equal threshold for NBT and the VAT. Now you can say when you have compare with the budget changes, you can identify out threshold for the value add tax also the 3 million, other than the wholesale and retail trade. Wholesale and retail turnover 50 million per annum. Now here local produce, agriculture products turnover for NBT is 25 million like NBT. sorry, this is for a NBT, right? NBT changes. NBT research changes is 20 in value add taxation also 25 million. This was for there for a payment VAT on these sectors. Now NBT only also the same way applied. Now it is reduced only for the locally produced milk powder. Right, these are the current changes. ESC Act changes now I discussed little in my Word documents. Liabilities we discussed. Alright, same way I have discussed all. Now you read my students are requested to read all the PowerPoint documents and the Word documents, and you can get some insight for the subject of these taxes. And also all is requested to refer the relevant section of the relevant act, and also more interested refer the Gazette notification and Gazette notification. On that base you can you can learn more, and you can advance your knowledge. And also in theoretical part you can learn read in some fiscal books related to fiscal policy, and especially the public finance theory and practice written by the Musgrave. This is a good book for the taxation, so you can learn lot of theories referring that books. Right, we close for this today. Right, thank you.